McLaren. Lando's absolutely happy in spite of his injury. Oscar, I mean, yeah, he looks about the same there, really, as he did on the podium, if I'm honest. He looked absolutely miserable. So let's get into why Oscar looked absolutely miserable. And it was here, under the safety car. What happened? Well, he braked really hard. They decided he was driving erratically. Kind of similar to George Russell, but more extreme. Okay? So, let's have a look, shall we? So there he is. And then he brakes suddenly behind the safety car, and Max Verstappen's like, what is going on? What, as you can see here, he brakes. This was when the safety car was coming in. Safety car lights are off, as you can see, and Max Verstappen brakes really suddenly. Yeah, we should be able to see on board in a bit. There we go. So here's Max Verstappen's on board. You'll suddenly see him. You'll suddenly see Oscar brake quite suddenly. You can just about see the lights, and there we go. I mean, Verstappen, to be fair, had to avoid him. Was it erratic? Yes, it was. But I think Verstappen probably thought, "Oh, he's gone. He's gone." Now, in relation to that, you are only allowed to go. Once you decide to go onto the safety car, you can't stop and start. And I guess it's felt that's what the steward said. Now, I think a 10-second penalty is quite harsh, given the fact that, once again, when you ram a driver on purpose, you again get a 10-second penalty. And apparently 3 championship points. I think Oscar got 2, but we'll get into the document in a bit. But yeah, so that was fair enough. In hindsight, kind of inexcusable, especially particularly when you look at that footage. Now, Piastri did get that 10-second penalty, but this is what he said afterwards. So he got the 10-second, he came out behind Lando Norris. What on earth was Oscar Piastri thinking with this radio call? I just don't understand it. It was just weird. Listen to this. He says, I don't think the penalty before was very fair. Fair enough. I think we should swap back and race. Okay, I mean,
the penalty before was very fair. I mean, I know that's a big question, but if you don't think it was fair either, I think we should swap back
and
what? Race.
A desperate radio message from a desperate man. Surely.
Was very fair. I mean, I know that's a big question, but if you don't think it was fair either, I think we should swap back and race.
So just one more time. I don't think the penalty before was very fair. I think we should swap back and race. Basically, if you don't think it's fair as well, talking to his engineer, we should swap back and race, meaning he wants Lando Norris to give up the lead and then race because of an unfair penalty. I've never, for the life of me, heard this before.
I don't think the penalty before was very fair. I mean, I know that's a big question, but if you don't think it was fair either, I think we should swap back and race.
Yeah, that was just weird. I didn't understand that. This was him during the media after he'd won. Not won, sorry, after he finished
Oscar,
second.
I can imagine the emotions are very high, and we always say that you're very level-headed, but I've never seen you quite so upset about this.
And I think he was when you heard the radio. Yes, it wasn't at the same time, but that's very shortly afterwards when we saw his mistake when he almost went off. This is the first time ever we have seen Oscar Piastri slightly rattled. And that included, and it came back to the podium celebrations and the interview. He's normally the Iceman. He clearly wasn't happy. Has Lando Norris finally got to him? Perhaps. I mean, we know he's good. We know on his day, yes, he can beat Lando Norris as much as Lando Norris can beat Oscar Piastri. What I wonder, though, is when we look back at the British Grand Prix, is this the moment that Lando started taking control of the championship? Only time will tell. Or is this the moment that Oscar Piastri was like, right, I'm angry now, and then we don't see Lando win a race again, kind of like what Max did when Perez won at Baku in 2020. I think it was 2023.
Quite so upset about the situation you find yourself in.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much. I'll get myself in trouble. So, well done to Nico. I think that's the highlight of the day. So,
I mean, Nico, what's interesting, and the reason why I say he's moody, he doesn't even congratulate his teammate.
Yeah, I'll leave it there.
You obviously had a reasonably good start against Max. Made a lovely move, and it looked like you had good.
Look at his face
throughout the race.
He's livid,
and it was the one incident that obviously
he's
you're not going to want to
absolutely
talk about.
angry.
Mention it here on the back straight. Obviously getting the gap to the safety car.
Yeah, I mean, apparently you can't brake behind the safety car anymore. I mean, I did it for 5 laps before that, and again, I'm not going to say too.
No, he did do it laps before that, but when they actually look back at it, it was nothing like the braking he did there. So some people may think Max is crying about it, that's why he got a penalty, perhaps. I was surprised that George Russell maybe didn't get some kind of penalty looking in his mirrors in Canada, but there we go. consistency, as you know, is a massive problem that I have, and we have here, and I'm not the only person, massive F1 fan, that has an issue with the consistency of the stewards. It's ridiculous.
Too much, so I'll get myself in trouble. But
I'll get myself in trouble. Thanks to the crowd. Yeah, no, not one mention of Lando, so we know he's annoyed. He's rattled. The first time we've seen Oscar Piastri rattled. Here is the official document, which I'll read. Obviously, car driver 81, Oscar Piastri, time 15:49, 49 minutes after the race start. Session race, erratic braking on the straight before turn 15, Stowe, when the safety car lights were extinguished. Okay. And there was a breach of Article 55.15 of the FIA Sporting Code Regulations, Appendix H, and decision, a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points. He now has a total of 6. And then what they've said is the stewards reviewed, obviously, positioning, marshal system data, telemetry, team radio, and in-car evidence. When the clerk of the court had declared that the safety car was coming in that lap, and the lights were extinguished, car 81 suddenly braked hard. And they're talking 59.2 psi of brake pressure. Now, when you look back at George, in that Canada incident, it was about 30, so it's double. And reduced speed in the middle of the straight between T14 and T15, basically hanger straight before Stowe. And he reduced speed from 218 kilometres per hour to 52, resulting in car 1 having to take evasive action to avoid a collision. I mean, he accelerated quite hard as well, to the point, as I mentioned, Max Verstappen must have thought, oh, okay, we're going. Oh, no, we're not, suddenly. And then car 1 unavoidably overtaking car 81 in a position which he gave back. So I initially thought, oh my gosh, Max Verstappen's overtaking Piastri, that's really naughty. And when it came up, I thought, Max Verstappen's getting that penalty. Until I saw the replay, I was like, no way. No way Max is getting a penalty for that. So Article 55.15 of the Sporting Code required car 81 to proceed at a pace which involved no erratic braking nor any other manoeuvre which is likely to endanger other drivers from the point at which the lights on the safety car are turned off. Now, what car 81 did was clearly in breach of this article, it says. In accordance with the penalty guidelines, we impose a 10-second time penalty to car 81. Competitors are reminded that they have the right to appeal certain decisions of the stewards in accordance with Article 15 of the FIA International Sporting Code and Chapter 4 of the FIA Judicial and Disciplinary Rules, where within applicable time limits. And it just goes on, yeah. There's the Antonio Liuzzi, former Red Bull driver. I'm sure people are going to mention that. But there we go. But it caused Verstappen to do this, didn't it? Whoops. That's all I can say is, whoops-a-daisy Max Verstappen. Yeah. What happened? The safety car went. I don't think this caused Verstappen, really. I know people are going to may suggest it, that this is the Stowe's here, and then, he accelerated. Max accelerated too early, lost the rear, and just spun. Remember, he had a lower downforce set up on his vehicle, so naturally he was going to have potentially more of an issue heating up those tyres, and then he spun, and then he lost quite a few positions. And he to be fair to him, he did quite well to not get out of the wall. Now, where people have suggested that may have been an issue for Max is it stopped Max warming up the tyres properly in relation to what Oscar Piastri was doing. I don't really think that happened. It's kind of like clutching at straws if Max just made a mistake. Showed us he's human, but there we go. So, Max said about the incident, it happened to me a few times now, that people do it in front of me. I saw the race, he got a 10-second penalty for it. That is also very, very extreme. I think so too. 10 seconds, but oh well, I don't make the rules. Had it been 5, he may have won the race. Although it would have been very close between him and Lando Norris. He would have got out in front, I think, of the pit stops when they pitted for dries towards the end of the race because it was raining. And then he would have been ahead. It would have been a case of Lando trying to pass him. Yeah, who knows? Who